Hey, it's May 4th and we find ourselves in 2 Samuel chapters 5 and 6, as well as 1 Chronicles chapters 13 through 16. Today holds some special significance for Star Wars fans. It's Star Wars Day. Now, no movies were ever released on May 4th, but May the 4th be with you and May the Force be with you sound really similar, and so Star Wars Day was born. Today's passage contains another special day in Israel's history. And this was the day that the Ark of the Covenant was brought to Jerusalem. Leading up to this day, in 2 Samuel 5, the king of Tyre has built David a house in Jerusalem. David has understood that God has made him king over Israel for the sake of the people. And David has defeated the Philistines now twice since becoming king. Each time he consulted God as to if and how he should fight them. And as a result, 1 Chronicles 14:17 says, "The fame of David went out into all the lands, and the Lord brought the fear of him upon all nations." Which brings us to 2 Samuel 6, verse 1. David again gathered all the chosen men of Israel to bring the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem. You see, the Ark represented God's presence among his people. It was the place that they would meet with him. In 1 Chronicles 13:3, David tells us that he wanted to bring the Ark to Jerusalem now because they did not seek it, meaning God's direction, in the days of Saul. David wanted to correct that. But David went about it the wrong way. Verse 3 says, they carried the Ark of the Covenant on a new cart. It was supposed to be carried on poles. Verse 6 tells us that the oxen stumbled, and a man named Uzzah put out his hand on the ark to steady it, and God struck him dead. The ark was not to be touched by anyone except for the high priest, and even then only once a year. Uzzah sinned, so Uzzah died. David was angry that Uzzah died and afraid of God, and so he leaves the ark in the house of Obed-Edom and takes 3 months to figure out what he did wrong. 1 Chronicles 15 tells us what David had discovered. In verse 13, David tells the Levites, "Because you did not carry it the first time, the Lord our God broke out against us, because we did not seek him according to the rule." So the Levites consecrate themselves, and they carry the ark on poles this time as they should have the first time. Then they went above and beyond what was necessary with music and dancing, including David, and sacrifices every 6 steps. Now don't worry about any waste here. Most of the meat was later given to the people along with many other gifts of food, according to 1 Chronicles 16:3. 1 Chronicles 16 tells us that David placed the ark in a tent that he had prepared for it. He offered even more sacrifices. He and the priests thanked God and praised God. Then in verse 43, David went home to bless his household and gets one of the worst receptions from a spouse imaginable, and that's recorded at the end of 2 Samuel chapter 6. So what can we take away from today's passage? David wanted God's direction in his life. He sought it before battles and was successful. He wanted it in his new capital of his kingdom, which is what the ark represented. But when he went to move the ark, 1 Chronicles showed us that he consulted people instead of God. And that's when things went terribly wrong. Now don't misunderstand me. It is good to get advice from wise people. Proverbs 15:22 tells us, "Without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors they succeed." And one of those advisors always has to be God. David overlooked that, but he corrected his mistake by studying God's word and obeying it. My prayer for us today is that we would desire God's direction in all areas of our lives, that we would seek it in his word with all our heart, so that we are complete, thoroughly equipped for every good work which God has set up in advance for us to do. If you haven't done so already, please download our Through the Bible reading plan at HesperiaCommunityChurch.org/throughthebible. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you again soon, and may the 4th be with you.